So you work your whole life to build this big pile of assets. Don't you want to make sure that you have everything in place to effectively pass them to those you care about the most? So what I'm talking about here is your legal documents and your beneficiary listings. And today we're going to cover a couple of the talking points that we go over with all of our clients to make sure that you take the necessary steps to make things pass effectively and efficiently in the most tax efficient manner. So let's dive right in. First off, I'm not an attorney, so what I'm talking about here is just off of general knowledge. But when it comes to your legal documents at your end of your life, there's a couple main ones that you're going to want to have in place. The first one is a last will and testament. All right, so there's three ways money can be passed. It can be passed via ownership. So if you and I own a piece of property together, joint tenants with rights of survivorship, and you pass away, I become the sole owner of that property. All right. Second way is via contract. This is things like life insurance, 401ks, IRAs, annuities, where you state or name a beneficiary of your choosing. If you pass away and I'm your named beneficiary, that asset becomes mine. The third and final way, or kind of a catch-all, is through your last will and testament. So in this will, you decide who your property goes to, who's going to be the executor in your estate, maybe the guardian for your children, a trustee if you elect to set up a trust for the benefit of your children. You're going to name some very important people that are going to take care of your estate shall you pass away maybe too early or even when the time's right. So why do we need a will? Well, here's the case in the state of Iowa is that if you don't have a will in place when you pass, the state provides one for you. And right in that document, it says that 2/3 of your assets will go to your children and only 1/3 of your assets will go to your spouse. Is that really the way you want it to be done? Would you rather impoverish your wife or your spouse and empower your children? What if your children are minors? What if they're too young? If we don't have a guardian named for our children, the state will provide one for you. All right. Now, typically, they're going to be pretty good about it and find somebody that would look out for the best interest of your kids. But again, those are choices that I'd rather make than having a court make it for me. So really important to have at least a last will and testament in place. The next document that you want to get in order is your power of attorney. So you can have a medical power of attorney, you could have a financial power of attorney, or just a regular durable power of attorney, kind of encompasses all of those. But what the power of attorney is really a document that's stating if I can't make decisions on my own accord, I've nominated blank agent, could be a spouse, could be a child, could be a good friend, to make those decisions for me, with the idea that these people are going to look out for my best interest at all given times. The third and final one is your living will or your medical directive. And what I'm talking about here is that if I need life-sustaining treatment, what are my wishes? Do I want to have a tube stuck down my throat? Do I want to have CPR performed? What are the things that I wish to do to sustain my life? And not having those documents in place really puts a lot of stress and pressure on your loved ones to have to make those decisions for you if they don't know your clear wishes. And another sidebar on that, found out recently that if you have a living will or a medical directive that says I do not want life-sustaining treatment, make sure you're carrying it with you, because medical facilities cannot honor verbal requests or verbal statements of those wishes. So you need to make sure you have those three documents in place to pass everything in the most effective and efficient manner possible. Now let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about beneficiary listings. So like I said, if you have a contract, 401k, life insurance, IRA, Roth IRA, you're going to name a beneficiary for the dollars to be passed to upon your passing. And biggest thing I've seen here is people just forget to update them. So maybe they get divorced. Maybe they've got one child that they don't really like, or that is disowned them, or they just aren't getting along. You have to stay on top of those things, because upon your passing, whatever's written in those documents are the rules that are going to be followed. All right. And another big part of this is understand tax consequences. So for example, if you have an IRA plan, maybe you rolled it over from a former employer, and if you have minor children listed as contingent beneficiaries or just regular beneficiaries, and they receive those proceeds, they're able to do what they call a stretch IRA, which allows them to defer some of that tax consequence over the remainder of their life. Now, the same thing holds true for a spouse, or someone closer to your age. But where I see a lot of people make a mistake on is they go set up their last will and testament. They develop a family trust inside of there to take care of those minor children. So then they go put all their assets to that trust. Well, if now all of a sudden you've got, say, a $500,000 portfolio, and all that money goes to a trust, guess what? It all becomes taxable, and it all becomes taxable right away. So you miss out on that opportunity to take advantage of a stretch IRA. So make sure you don't overlook that when you do your planning. But the point of all this, guys, is you have to understand what's going to happen on all of your contracts upon you passing away. And then my third and final topic, things that you want to get in order before something happens to you, is the need to have a conversation with your family. We started about 5 years ago in our family holding what we call family meetings. We run a farm operation. We run our business here in town. It's really been helpful to give some clarity to all of us kids and to mom and dad to understand what our wishes are. And it's allowed us to ask questions now while we're all sitting around the table and able to answer them or get our answers, than what happens with a lot of families when nobody wants to talk about end of life scenarios and nobody wants to talk about what's going to happen. And then it does happen, and now we've got a big mess on our hands. So communicate with each other, talk through your questions, have open live conversations, because it's a lot better to be able to have that conversation today than to sit around and have to assume what mom or dad or both would have said when they're already gone. So get your stuff in order. Make sure you have all this in line before you go to make that leap into your retirement years, and make sure to check out the rest of our videos on things to consider before retiring. Make it a great day.